You lied to me. The voice on the other end wasn't just angry. It was wounded, accusatory, sharp enough to cut through years of carefully constructed defenses. Sarah pressed her phone against her ear, standing in her kitchen at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, watching her coffee go cold. She was 32 years old, a college professor, a published author, a mother of two, and yet, in this moment, she felt like she was 12 again. Being scolded for something she didn't fully understand was wrong. Mom, I didn't lie. I just didn't. 3 hours, Sarah. Your mother-in-law lived under your roof for 3 hours. I mean 3 weeks, and you didn't think to mention it? What else are you hiding from me? This wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last. And somewhere between the accusations and the guilt, Sarah realized something had to change. Let's rewind 5 years. Sarah had built what she thought was a good life. Stable marriage to her husband James, 2 beautiful children, and a respectable career teaching literature at the local college. She'd even published her first novel, a small press release that hadn't made her famous, but had made her proud. But there was always this shadow. Her mother, Eleanor. Eleanor wasn't a villain in the traditional sense. She'd raised Sarah as a single mother after Sarah's father left when she was 6. Eleanor had worked 2 jobs, made sacrifices, attended every school event. She loved Sarah. That was never in question. But that love came with strings, invisible threads that tightened whenever Sarah tried to pull away. Growing up, Sarah learned the rules. Mom's feelings came first. Family meant complete transparency. Keeping secrets was the same as lying. Distance meant betrayal. By the time Sarah was in her 20s, she'd become an expert people pleaser, especially where Eleanor was concerned. She'd call daily, share every detail, seek approval for every decision. It was exhausting, but it was all she knew. Marriage to James at 26 started to change things. James came from a different kind of family, one where adults respected each other's boundaries, where love didn't require constant proof. His mother, Patricia, was warm but independent. She didn't need to know everything, didn't take offense at not being the center of attention. Eleanor immediately sensed a threat. The tension between the 2 grandmothers-to-be started before Sarah's first child was even born. Eleanor wanted to be in the delivery room. Patricia sent flowers and said she'd visit when Sarah was ready. Eleanor wanted to stay for 2 weeks after the birth. Patricia offered to help with meals, but stayed at a hotel. Eleanor criticized Patricia's cold approach. Patricia never said a word against Eleanor. Sarah, caught in the middle, did what she'd always done. She managed her mother's feelings, reassured her, prioritized her, exhausted herself trying to keep peace. But something was shifting. 5 years ago, Sarah and James lived in Riverside, a small city about 6 hours from Sarah's hometown of Maplewood. It was far enough that Eleanor's visits were limited to holidays and special occasions, a distance Sarah had quietly, guiltily appreciated. Then Patricia announced she was moving to Riverside. "It's nothing to do with you two," Patricia assured them over dinner. "My sister lives here, I've got friends in the area, and honestly, the weather's better for my arthritis. Plus, I'll get to see my grandkids more often. But I'm not expecting you to entertain me or anything. I'm getting my own place across town." James was delighted. Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach. She knew what would happen if she told her mother. Eleanor would see it as a competition she was losing. She'd accuse Sarah of choosing Patricia over her. She'd make dramatic statements about not being wanted and knowing where she stood. She'd punish Sarah with cold silences or emotional outbursts, despite living 6 hours away and having no intention of moving closer. So Sarah made a choice. She didn't tell her. For 6 months, it worked. Patricia moved to Riverside, got a lovely apartment, and became a pleasant presence in their lives. She'd babysit occasionally if Sarah and James needed it, but she never imposed. She'd join for Sunday dinners sometimes, but she had her own social life. It was easy, Eleanor's visits continued as always. When she came for Christmas, Patricia made herself scarce, staying with her sister. There was no overlap, no drama, no problem. Until Eleanor's brother, Sarah's Uncle Tom, mentioned it during a phone call. "Must be nice having Patricia nearby to help with the kids," he'd said innocently. The silence on Eleanor's end lasted 3 heartbeats too long. That evening, Sarah's phone rang. She saw her mother's name and felt her chest tighten before she even answered. What followed was 3 hours that Sarah would never forget. Crime 1. Deception. "You deliberately kept this from me. You knew I wouldn't like it, so you hid it." "That's lying, Sarah. I don't care if you said the words or not. You lied to your mother." Crime 2. Choosing sides. "You've always liked her better, haven't you? She's the good grandma, the cool one, because she doesn't actually care enough to be involved. And I'm the problem because I love you too much." Crime 3. Disrespect. "After everything I sacrificed for you, I worked myself to the bone to give you opportunities. And this is how you repay me? By treating me like I don't matter?" Sarah tried to explain. She tried to use logic. Patricia moving wasn't Sarah's decision. Patricia lived across town, not with them. It didn't affect Eleanor at all. Eleanor lived 6 hours away and visited the same amount. But logic didn't matter. This wasn't about facts. It was about feelings. Eleanor's feelings. Eleanor's hurt. Eleanor's sense of being displaced, overlooked, unloved. By hour 2, Sarah was crying. Not because she thought she was wrong, but because she was tired. Tired of managing her mother's emotions. Tired of walking on eggshells. Tired of being made to feel like a bad daughter for having normal boundaries. By hour 3, she was numb. The call ended with Eleanor's parting shot. "I need some time to process this betrayal. Don't call me, I'll call you when I'm ready." Sarah sat in the dark of her living room, phone still in her hand, and felt something crack. Not break, not yet, but definitely crack. The punishment lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks of silence that should have felt peaceful, but instead felt like waiting for the other shoe to drop. James watched his wife walk on eggshells, jumping every time her phone buzzed, and finally said what needed to be said. "Your mother is manipulating you." Sarah's first instinct was to defend Eleanor. "She's just hurt. She's 65 years old, Sarah. She's not a child. You didn't do anything wrong, and she's treating you like you committed a crime. This isn't normal mother-daughter stuff. This is toxic." That word, toxic, sat heavy in the room. Sarah wanted to reject it. Eleanor wasn't toxic. She was just difficult, emotional, sensitive. But was she? James continued, gentle but firm. "Think about it. When's the last time you told your mother something about your life, and she just listened, supported you, didn't make it about her feelings?" Sarah opened her mouth to answer and found she couldn't. Sarah started therapy at 29. She told herself it was for stress management and work-life balance. She didn't mention her mother for the first 3 sessions. Dr. Martinez was patient. She let Sarah talk about everything else: the challenges of teaching, the juggling act of motherhood, the pressure of working on her second novel, until finally, inevitably, Sarah mentioned, "My mom called yesterday. She's upset that I'm planning my daughter's birthday party on a Saturday instead of Sunday, because she has church Sunday morning, and now she has to choose. She says I'm being inconsiderate." Dr. Martinez looked up from her notes. "And what do you think?" I mean, the party's in 6 weeks. She could skip church 1 time, right? But also, I shouldn't have to plan my daughter's party around my mother's church schedule, should I? But she did raise me alone, and she does make a long drive to see us. So maybe I should just move it? But Saturday works better for the venue and for the other kids' families. Sarah heard herself spiraling and stopped. "Doctor." Martinez smiled gently. "Tell me about your relationship with your mother." It all came pouring out. The guilt, the obligation, the walking on eggshells. The way Eleanor's moods dictated Sarah's stress levels, despite living hours apart. The constant feeling of never doing enough, never being enough. "Does your mother respect your boundaries?" Dr. Martinez asked. I'm not sure I have any. Over the next year, therapy became Sarah's sanctuary. She learned words like enmeshment and emotional manipulation. She learned that love doesn't require suffering. She learned that no is a complete sentence. Most importantly, she learned that she could love her mother without liking her, without sacrificing herself on the altar of Eleanor's needs and feelings. She started small. When Eleanor called asking Sarah to drive 3 hours each way for a Sunday lunch, Sarah said, "That doesn't work for us this week. How about a video call instead?" The guilt was crushing. The pushback was immediate. But Sarah held firm. Then came the bigger boundary. "Mom, I love you, but I need you to respect that I'm an adult with my own life. Not telling you everything isn't lying. It's me maintaining my privacy." Eleanor cried, then got angry, then gave Sarah the silent treatment for 3 weeks. But Sarah survived it, and something in her grew stronger. 3 years ago, life threw a curveball. James got an incredible job opportunity in Maplewood, Sarah's hometown. Better pay, better position, better opportunities for the kids' education. It meant moving closer to Eleanor. Sarah felt that old familiar dread, but she was different now, stronger. She and James talked extensively about boundaries before the move. They agreed. Weekly visits, not daily. Advanced notice required, no just stopping by. Their home, their rules. Sarah would not be Eleanor's emotional support person. Eleanor was thrilled about the move, already planning daily coffee dates and constant grandkid time. Sarah gently but firmly established the boundaries. Eleanor pouted but accepted them, sort of. The first year was an adjustment. Eleanor pushed. Sarah held firm. There were tears and accusations of Sarah being different and cold, but they found a rhythm. Maybe not comfortable, but sustainable. Then Patricia decided to move back too. Patricia's move was less smooth than expected. She sold her place in Riverside and bought a lovely condo in Maplewood, but there was a 6-week gap between closings. She needed temporary housing. James immediately offered, "Mom, just stay with us. We have the guest room." Patricia hesitated. "I don't want to impose." "You're not," Sarah said, meaning it. Patricia was easy to live with, respectful, helpful, but not overbearing. 6 weeks is nothing. What Sarah didn't say. 6 weeks of keeping this from my mother will be everything. She knew the moment Eleanor found out that Patricia was living with them, even temporarily, there would be hell to pay. It didn't matter that it was temporary, logical, or none of Eleanor's business. She would see it as the ultimate betrayal. The other grandmother getting special access, living under the same roof as her grandchildren. So Sarah made another choice: silence. For 6 weeks, Sarah and James maintained their normal schedule with Eleanor. Weekly Sunday dinners, the kids' soccer games she wanted to attend, a lunch date here and there. Nothing changed from Eleanor's perspective. Patricia, understanding the dynamics without needing explanation, made herself scarce whenever Eleanor was around. If Sunday dinner was planned, Patricia would conveniently have plans with friends. If Eleanor mentioned stopping by, Patricia would take a long walk. It was exhausting, the mental gymnastics of keeping 2 grandmothers from intersecting. But it was manageable. And more importantly, it was peaceful. Week 5, Sarah started to relax. 1 more week, and Patricia would be in her condo, and no one would be the wiser. This time, the secret would stay secret. Then Sarah's sister posted a photo on Facebook. It was innocent, a snapshot from the kids' soccer game. Patricia was in the background, sitting on the bleachers, cheering. The caption, "Gran came to support the team." Sarah's sister didn't think twice about it. Why would she? She didn't know Patricia living with them was classified information. Eleanor, however, saw everything on Facebook. She saw the photo. She saw the date from 3 weeks ago, and she started asking questions. Sarah's sister, still innocent to the minefield she'd wandered into, mentioned, "Oh yeah, isn't it great that Patricia's been staying with them during the transition? Sarah's so good to let her stay in the guest room." The explosion was nuclear. This time, Eleanor didn't call. She showed up. Sarah opened her door to find her mother standing there, face red, eyes blazing, whole body shaking with rage. 6 weeks, Eleanor said, voice dangerously quiet. "She's been living here for 6 weeks and you didn't tell me." Sarah's children, sensing the tension, suddenly found urgent reasons to be in their rooms. James appeared in the hallway, supportive but letting Sarah handle it. This was her boundary to defend. "Mom, let's talk inside." "Don't you dare," Eleanor's voice was rising. "Don't you dare play hostess like everything's fine. You lied to me, again. Do you enjoy lying to your mother? Does it make you feel powerful?" Something in Sarah, the old Sarah who would have crumbled, apologized, taken responsibility for her mother's feelings, stayed silent. The new Sarah, the one who'd learned boundaries, spoke instead. "I didn't lie. I chose not to share something that wasn't your business." The words hung in the air like a grenade. Eleanor stared at her daughter as if she'd grown a second head. "Not my business. Your life is my business. I'm your mother. You're my mother, not my owner. Patricia needed a place to stay temporarily. We offered. It had nothing to do with you, and it didn't affect you in any way. It affects me because you hid it, because you sneak around behind my back, because clearly you care more about her than me." "This isn't about caring more or less," Sarah said, feeling calmer than she expected. Maybe it was all the therapy, maybe it was just exhaustion. "This is about me being an adult who doesn't have to report every detail of my life to you." Eleanor's face crumpled. "How did you become so cruel?" And there it was, the weapon Eleanor always wielded when anger didn't work. Hurt. The devastated mother, wounded by her heartless daughter. Years ago, Sarah would have broken, would have apologized, comforted, taken it all back. Instead, she said, "I'm not cruel for having boundaries, and I'm not going to keep having this conversation." Eleanor left in tears. Within an hour, Sarah's phone was flooded with messages from relatives, her sister, her uncle, Eleanor's friends, all wanting to know why she'd hurt her mother so badly. The next few days were a blur of family drama. Sarah was painted as the villain in Eleanor's story, the ungrateful daughter who betrayed her loving mother. Some relatives called to lecture her. Others wanted to mediate. A few, surprisingly, quietly reached out to say they understood. James watched his wife weather the storm with a mixture of pride and concern. "Are you okay?" he asked one night, as Sarah sat on their porch, phone silenced, staring at the stars. "I don't know," Sarah admitted. "I know I'm right. I know I didn't do anything wrong. But why does it still hurt so much?" "Because she's your mom," Jane said simply, "and you wish she could love you without needing to control you." Sarah nodded, tears finally falling. "I wish she could just accept me, who I actually am, not who she needs me to be." 2 weeks later, after the dust had settled but before Eleanor had officially forgiven her, Sarah sat down and wrote. Not a novel this time, but a script. Words for the next inevitable confrontation. She knew there would be a next time. Eleanor wouldn't change. Narcissists rarely do, but Sarah could change, could keep changing, could keep holding her boundaries even when it hurt. She wrote, "Mom, I love you, but I need you to understand something. My life is my own. What I choose to share with you is my choice, not my obligation. Not telling you everything isn't lying or betrayal. It's me being an adult with my own privacy and boundaries. I will not defend my decisions about my household, my family, or my choices when they don't involve you. I will not engage with accusations, guilt trips, or punishment through silence. I want a relationship with you, but it has to be one where we're both adults, treating each other with respect. That means you respect my right to privacy, and I respect yours. It means we communicate about things that actually affect each other, and we let go of things that don't. I'm not going to argue about this or try to convince you. This is just how it needs to be for me to maintain a relationship with you that doesn't leave me exhausted and hurt. I hope you can accept this. But if you can't, I'll be sad, but I'll understand. Either way, I'm done apologizing for having boundaries. Sarah read it over, then saved it to her phone. She wasn't sure if she'd ever deliver it exactly as written. Scripted confrontations rarely went to plan. But having the words there, ready, made her feel prepared. More importantly, writing them made her realize she'd already said everything that needed saying. Now it was just about repetition, consistency, holding the line. Eleanor would test the boundaries again. She always did, but Sarah was done teaching and reteaching the same lessons. She'd stated her truth. Now it was up to Eleanor to choose. Relationship with boundaries or no relationship at all. Either way, Sarah knew she'd be okay, because for the first time in her life, she was choosing herself. Not cruelty, not selfishness, just healthy, necessary self-preservation. And sometimes, that's not just okay. It's the only way forward.